Use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. Hey gang, and welcome back. Thank you again for joining me down the rabbit hole that is EDH. This week we have another EDH game, and I happen to also not be in it. Matt is playing his Gishath Sun's Avatar deck and keeps a hand with Kadama's Reach, Blinding Fog, Urza's Incubator, Druid of the Anima, Plains, Croson Verge, and Blossoming Sand. Sean is playing his Inalla deck and keeps a hand with Inventor's Fair, Search for the Azcanta, Sathrid Necromancer, Merchant of Secrets, Reliquary Tower, Swamp, and Izzet Chronarch. Harry is playing his Mairsil the Pretender deck and keeps a hand with Kenyan Slaw, Sunken Hollow, Temple of Deceit, Command Tower, Faithless Looting, Gilded Lotus, and Urtai the Wizard Adept. Lastly, Trevor is trying out his Vial Smasher / Ikra Shadiki deck and keeps a hand with Damnable Pact, Decree of Pain, Dragonskull Summit, Ranger's Path, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Blood Crypt, and Woodland Cemetery. Sean wins the die roll and starts us off. Sean plays Reliquary Tower for the first land for the game and passes turn. Matt plays Temple of Abandon and scries 1, putting the card on top to the bottom. Trevor plays Foreboding Ruins, not wanting to reveal a swamp or a mountain, and passes turn. Harry plays Kenyan Slough and passes. Sean plays a swamp for his turn and passes to Matt. Matt plays Croson Verge and passes turn. Trevor plays Overgrown Tomb tapped and passes. For Harry's turn, he casts Faithless Looting, drawing and pitching 2, then plays a Temple of Deceit, scrying the card from the top to the bottom. Sean plays Inventor's Fair and passes turn. Matt plays a Plains and casts Kadama's Reach, finding a basic for his hand and a basic to the field. Trevor plays Woodland Cemetery for his turn and casts Vial Smasher. Harry casts Izzet Signet before playing a Sunken Hollow tapped and passes turn. Sean plays a Mountain for his turn and casts Sathrid Necromancer. He pays 1 colorless to make a hasty copy thanks to Inalla's trigger. Moving to combat, Sean swings a copy at Trevor, who blocks it with Vial Smasher. With the Sathrid Necromancer copy dying, it triggers itself and its original's ability, giving Sean 2 zombie tokens. Matt plays a Forest for his turn and casts Sylvan Library. He then continues to ramp by casting Druid of the Anima and passes to Trevor. Trevor plays Dragonskull Summit for his land for turn and casts Ranger's Path to find 2 forest lands and put them into play tapped. This spell triggers Vial Smasher as it's the first of his turn, and after rolling to see who randomly takes damage, he blasts Matt for 4. For Harry's turn, he plays Command Tower as his land and taps out to cast Gilded Lotus. Harry then taps the Lotus to cast Thousand Year Elixir and passes turn. For Sean's turn, he unfortunately misses his land drop, but he does cast Cloudstone Curio during his first main phase. Moving to combat, he swings the real Sathrid Necromancer at Harry for 2. With nothing else, he passes to Matt. Matt also doesn't have a land for turn, but he does have the remedy for this as he casts Cultivate, finding a forest for his hand and a Plains to the field. Matt then plays the forest and pays 3 to cast Urza's Incubator, naming dinosaurs. Trevor plays Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth as his land for turn and casts Vidalcan Orrery. Vial Smasher triggers, and Harry is randomly selected to be blasted for 4. Harry casts Mairsil during his first main phase, and the Pretender puts Ardent Sphinx into a cage. Harry then casts Fate Stitcher and passes turn. Sean draws and plays a Swamp for his turn before casting Puppeteer Clique. This lets Sean put a trigger from the Cloudstone Curio on the stack, which he then uses to return his Sathrid Necromancer. Sean uses the Clique trigger to return Urtai under his control, and Sean gets another Cloudstone Curio trigger, which he uses to return the Clique to his hand. Sean moves through his combat step and goes to his end step, exiling the Urtai and passing to Matt. Matt plays Rugged Highlands for his turn, gaining 1 life. He then casts Soul Ring as if he doesn't have enough mana, before casting Blood Mist. Matt passes turn, but at the end of Matt's turn, Trevor casts Damnable Pact, drawing a card, losing a life, and triggering Vial Smasher. Vial Smasher once again randomly selects Harry, dealing 3. For his turn, Trevor plays Blood Crypt untapped, losing 2 life. Trevor then casts Ancient Craving, drawing 3, losing 3, and Vial Smasher once again randomly, and you can't see my air quotes, targets Harry to deal 4. On Harry's turn, he taps his Gilded Lotus to cast Compulsive Research, discarding Anger and a Mountain. Moving to combat, Harry's a bit sick of Vial Smasher, so he swings his general at Trevor. Trevor responds by flashing in Sakura Tribe Elder, and Vial Smasher randomly targets Matt for 2. Trevor then blocks Mairsil with the Elder and sacrifices it to find a basic. With his attack stalled, Harry pays 1 to exile his commander thanks to Argent Sphinx and Metalcraft, and moving to his end step, returns his general and puts Nerenthal's Disc into the cage. Sean plays a Fetid Pool for his land for turn, and Sathrid Necromancer makes their triumphant return. Sean pays 1 to make a copy of the wizard, and moves to combat. The copy goes at Harry, who takes the 2 rather than give Sean more zombies. At the end of his turn, Sean exiles the copy, and Matt sacrifices the Croson Verge to find a Plains and a Forest card, grabbing his 2 Tango lands. Matt plays Rogue's Passage for his turn, and Big Daddy Dino, Gishath, Sun's avatar, comes roaring into play. Moving to combat, Matt puts the double strike trigger from Blood Mist on his Dino and swings him at Sean. Sean puts everything he has in front of Gishath. Matt still gets 1 damage through, but sadly hits a Scry Temple. Sean also gets a tap zombie for the Zathrid dying. This lets Matt's second hit go through unstopped for the full 7. Matt manages to hit Verdant Sun's avatar, Raptor Hatchling, and Mirror Entity. With all the dinos coming into play at once, Matt gains a nice 7 life, and at the end of Matt's turn, Trevor cycles Sheltered Thicket. Trevor's turn is pretty quick, as he plays a Savage Land and passes turn. On Harry's turn, during his first main phase, he flashes back Faithless Looting to draw 2 and discard 2. Harry then plays a Swamp and bounces his commander with the Argent Sphinx ability. Trevor responds to the exile trigger by flashing Decree of Pain, but Harry would rather keep his creatures and counters with the Swan Song. Vial Smasher triggers and randomly chooses Sean to take 8 damage. At the end of his turn, Harry returns his commander and targets the 8th lane in his graveyard to put into a cage. Sean casts Merchant of Secrets during his first main phase and pays 1 to create a copy. With the wizard entering the battlefield, Sean gets to draw a card for each copy. He uses the Cloudstone Curios trigger for the copy to return the original to his hand. He swings the copy at Harry, who chumps with his Fate Stitcher. Sean then has to discard down to 7 at the end of his turn and passes to Matt. Matt plays a Plains, and moving to combat, Matt makes Gishath unblockable with his Rogue's Passage and puts the double strike trigger from Blood Mist on the Dino. He declares he's swinging at Trevor for trying to wipe the board, and Trevor eats 14 commander damage. Matt's first trigger is disappointing, only hitting Charging Monstrosaur and gaining 5 life. His second hit, however, well, let's let the video speak for itself. Matt manages to hit 6 dinosaurs out of a possibility of 7. He finds Bellowing Aegisaur, Deathgorger Scavenger, Goring Ceratops, Imperial Aerosaur, Ranging Raptors, and Thrash of Raptors. He uses the Deathgorger Scavenger trigger to exile Trevor's Decree of Pain, and thanks to the Verdant Avatar being on the field, gains another 19 life. For Trevor's turn, he casts Divergent Transformations during his first main phase, targeting his Swan token and Mairsil. Vial Smasher triggers, randomly choosing Matt to deal 7 damage, and Harry responds by exiling his commander. Trevor reveals until he hits Bane of Progress, and as Bane of Progress enters the battlefield, it destroys all the artifacts and enchantments, and ends up with a not too shabby 9+1/+1 counters. Trevor then casts Koskan Falls, and passes to Harry. With Mairsil returning to the battlefield, Harry uses the opportunity to cage away the Gilded Lotus in his graveyard. For Harry's turn, he unfortunately has very little to do, and he untaps and passes turn. For Sean's turn, he casts Manifold Insights, revealing the top 10 cards and passing them to Matt. Matt gives Sean Conjurer's Closet, and Trevor gives him Cyclonic Rift before Harry finally gives him Magus of the Wheel. Sean then moves to cast Magus of the Wheel, and politics break loose all over the table. Sean just wants to refill his hand, while Trevor wants to deal with Matt's board state, and Matt just wants to avoid a further extinction. Harry decides to tap Mairsil to generate 3 blue mana, then using his Fate Stitcher, untaps him. He then taps Mairsil again, but this time as a disc. While Harry is still holding priority, he then uses Aethelyn's ability to exile itself until the end of turn. This ends up with his commander being safely exiled, and the board gets wiped before the Magus of the Wheel finally resolves. At the end of Sean's turn, Mairsil returns, exiling the Scarab God from Harry's graveyard. Harry then taps Mairsil to generate 3 blue mana, as Anger is in the yard so he has haste, and eternalizes Trevor's Sakura Tribe Elder, sacrificing it for a basic. Matt plays Blossoming Sands, gaining a life as his land for turn, and recasts Dino Daddy. He swings his commander at Trevor, who in response casts Rakdos Charm to exile Matt's graveyard as one final act before he dies to commander damage. Matt gets to use Gishath's trigger, revealing only 2 sad dinosaurs, Kinjali's Sunwing and Regisaur Alpha. At the end of Matt's combat step, Harry exiles his commander, and at the end of Matt's turn, Harry returns the wizard to exile his Izzet Signet. Harry then taps Mairsil once more to generate 3 blue mana, and taps a swamp to eternalize Sean's Izzet Chronarch, returning Compulsive Research. During his first main phase, Harry casts Quicksilver Elemental, who is straight broken with a well caged up Mairsil, and passes to Sean. Sean casts Bloodline Necromancer during his first main phase, paying 1 to copy it. He returns the Puppeteer Click and Zathrid Necromancer to the field. The click takes Harry's Fate Stitcher, and Sean taps the zombie to try and tap Mairsil. Harry responds by having the Elemental have all of Mairsil's activated abilities, and exiles his commander. Sean then swings the copy of the Bloodline Necromancer at Harry, who blocks with the Chronarch, and Sean gains 3 and the copy dies. Sean passes turn, and as a result, Harry's Fate Stitcher is exiled, and Mairsil returns once more. This lets Harry put Galecaster Colossus into a cage. For Matt's turn, he casts Duelist Heritage in his first main phase. Moving to combat, Matt swings his commander at Harry, who responds by tapping the Chronarch to bounce it back to Matt's hand. Matt responds by casting Blinding Fog, but Harry responds to the spell by tapping Mairsil to bounce it before the spell resolves. At the end of turn, Harry casts Thirst for Knowledge, drawing 3 and pitching 2, notably Una, Queen of the Fae, and Torchling. For Harry's turn, he eternalizes Una with Mairsil and exiles his commander. With his commander returning, Harry puts the Torchling into exile in a cage, and can now essentially generate infinite mana. Harry does so, and uses Una's ability to exile Sean and Matt's libraries, closing out the game. Game review time! So, Inalla is a lot of fun. Paying 1 to get a copy of a bunch of ETB abilities is very, very powerful, especially considering they also have haste. It was pretty ridiculous that Sean was able to stack the trigger between the Curio and Inalla, allowing his token copy to bounce the original back to his hand if he wanted. Matt's dinosaur deck was fantastic. I mean, he was probably pretty lucky with that 6 out of 7 hit, but Matt was able to get easily upwards of 20 mana worth of creatures onto the battlefield for free because of his commander trigger. It's a shame I wasn't able to stay later, as Matt was able to close out a game later on in the night by using Heroic Intervention to save his board, and then follow up by swinging for over 80 damage the following turn. I'm really excited to see what other kind of dinosaurs we're going to get in the future, and I really hope Matt continues to play this deck. Trevor's Jun's Spellslinger deck was a lot of fun, and it was heavily based around Vial Smasher and casting huge spells to smash people in the face for a big amount of damage. Trevor has since revamped the deck a little bit more to include a few more X spells to get even bigger hits off of Vial Smasher and just round out the package a little bit better. I'm not too sure what to say about Harry's Mairsil deck, other than Mairsil is probably the most broken out of the 3 commanders. The best part about all of this is the toned down version that Harry's made, as the other game that I recorded, which will be up later on, was so much faster and so much more degenerate. All I can say is thank goodness he's only able to use each activated ability only once per turn, as this would be a disgusting deck. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also find me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, at Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.